Welcome to the New Teacher Talk podcast.
We are helping you find your passion,
Learn your craft,
and share your successes.
Welcome, everybody.
How is it going, Pablo?
It is going really well. Episode number 32, one of my favorite numbers of all time.
Magic Johnson, right?
Boom!
Boom!
You got it. You got it. All right. So let me ask you, Wes, what's on the docket, sir?
You know what? Today's topic is how to protect yourself from teacher burnout. And we have a lot of experience with this, having lived a great number of years in education. And we have some tips and tricks.
Just lived a great number of years.
Yeah.
We're on the older side of things.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
We haven't burnt out yet.
It's okay. No, we are still here. We're here for the kids. And the new teachers.
Well said.
Yeah.
Before we dive in, please go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Share your thoughts with us. Let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. But we appreciate that effort you make to go reach out to us. If you do that, leave your Instagram name or handle. We'll give you a shout out, or Twitter or whatever. Don't put your credit card numbers up there, for goodness sakes.
No, but if you want to be anonymous, you can do that too.
Yep.
But we'd love to just know who you are because we love you.
Yeah. I actually haven't looked at our ratings and reviews in a while, so I'm just going to pull that up while we get started. See if there's anything new on there.
Yeah,
actually.
I think we're doing pretty good.
18 5-star reviews. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
We can get it up there. Let's go, people.
We can
All right,
do
get
better.
over there. If you want to stop right now, and if you're listening to this on iTunes, just hit the 5 stars. We'd love you. Okay, we're going to get started now. Protect yourself from teacher burnout.
Right. So when you proposed this topic, I thought, what is the opposite of burning out? Because there are protective measures you can do that are just going to slow it down or kind of hold it at bay. But I thought, what are the proactive things that you could do that would end up being 20, 25, 30 years into your career? You're the opposite of a burnout. You're somebody who's full of life and vitality, and you have more and more to give.
I don't know if this is the opposite, but it's the old adage of lifelong learning or continue to learn. Because I think I'll just look at it that way. If you're doing the opposite of that, then it's like you're not learning anything and you're just kind of stuck in the mud.
True.
I don't know if that answers your question completely.
I think you can be somebody who's not learning and not burnt out. Like you can be you're holding the status quo. You're not burnt out, but you haven't changed in years.
Yeah. But I'm not listening, right? Because I was thinking, what's the opposite?
Burnout to me means you are going to quit teaching because you're out of energy, you're out of motivation. You're done. But I think you could be somebody who never changes, never learns anything new, does the same old lesson plans year after year, and you can be happy and you can be a good teacher. And
that's questionable. Questionable. I need a mallet.
A gavel.
A gavel. That's it.
Pablo's here striking an invisible gavel. Order. You've said something that's heinous. Something that's heretical.
Either I don't understand it, which is probably the case.
Yeah.
Or I really not disagree, but I'm like, no, I think that's in between, though. I don't think that answers your question either.
True.
You said either, but I was like, I think that's in the middle.
Yeah.
Like that's somebody that's trudging along, sure, and yes.
But I don't want to belittle that, because you can be happy and a good teacher and never grow. I mean, you can be. I don't think it's the best state. I don't think it's the best state.
I'm not thinking that, but I'm just thinking, how happy can you be if you just don't grow at all?
It just, maybe you're small-minded. I don't know.
Me?
No.
I'm just kidding. I know that's not what you meant, but it sounded good.
I'm thinking like you can just be content and you have a family and you have a fulfilled life in your other areas, and your profession isn't. Maybe you weren't meant to be a teacher and you were just doing an okay job.
I get that, but you, I'm using
we are getting off topic.
No, we're on topic.
Oh,
I'm not going off.
Okay. All right.
You, in terms of the people out there in education,
help us.
Spend a lot of time at the school site.
Yes.
Would it be fair that most people get there at least by 7? right? Again,
Sure.
if you're that
Yeah, yeah.
flailing teacher, you're probably getting there right when the bell rings, 7:30, whatever, and leaving right at the bell. But usually you're getting there before
Yeah.
and you're staying after.
Yeah.
And in some
Sure.
cases, you're there longer than you are at home in your
Yeah.
happy place, if you will.
That's true.
So I just can't believe that you're still okay and happy and I'm not talking about your home life,
Yeah.
that you're happy at work
Yeah.
and you're not growing at all. And you just do that for 30 years. I just think you're unhappy at some point. That's all. That's all I'm going to say.
And I would argue you just don't know what happiness is. You've settled.
No, because you can tell it in like, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, that's, you know, you'll sense it, you'll know it, you'll feel it. And
that's a good point. I think what we're questioning here is the nature of happiness, which is another topic.
Oh, that's a different topic.
That's a different topic.
But how do you protect yourself from just not feeling good when you're out? Like, you're doing a job, regardless of teaching, you're a firefighter, whatever. Yeah. When you know you're not feeling anymore and you're thinking of other things, then there's a certain burnout there, and you want to do something else.
Okay. So I went and I researched life, vitality, biology, and I came up with some concepts that you see in other fields like biology.
Okay.
So and I'll just take one: reproduction.
Okay.
Things that are alive reproduce. If you're an alive teacher, a vital teacher, I hypothesize, I would argue that you are then creating other people who want to be teachers because you are full of life and love and passion and enjoyment, and it's affecting other people. I think if you are the opposite of burnout, you're going to be spreading seeds that make people want to do what you're doing because they see it as fulfilling and enjoyful.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Sure.
Enjoyable. Enjoyable. So, and I have, I think 5 or 6 other categories, but what do you think?
Let's lean into that a little bit because
I like that. Let's lean into that a little. I like that.
We're talking about burning out a little bit here, right?
Yeah.
And burnout means that you're becoming disinterested in the profession that you're in or what your day in, day out.
You're losing energy.
Yes,
you're losing energy.
Interest. But there's some catalysts to that. So I pulled up a couple things that also don't help. It's not just you.
Yeah.
There's the environment that you're in. And maybe we'll just go kind of back and forth.
Okay.
But one of them is a challenging work condition, which could be the students that you have, it's just that group of kids is a challenge.
Yeah.
I think you should know that when you if you're going to be a teacher, there's going to be challenging times, and you're going to
put students in your classroom.
Yeah, and
more than one.
They're all
different.
They're all thank you. But that's just one thing. It could be the area that it's in.
Could be your administrator.
Your district is not supportive, and I think that's on the list as well. But it could be a lot of those things. So I want to acknowledge that some of the burnout could be caused by extraneous circumstances,
and I don't.
Which is okay. You should, identify those things and know,
absolutely. So I don't want to get too personal, but people we know, people in our vicinity, maybe even in our families, been teaching a while, and they maybe recently had a year that was not the greatest year.
Absolutely.
It was like a challenging work condition. So, but with maturity, with insight, with this podcast, you can then know to look at that and go, that's one criteria. That's not who I am.
Exactly.
It's not my whole identification with the profession. And maybe then you can do something about it without quitting teaching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's part of...
That's good. That's a good article.
Yeah. Go on. Why don't you go on with the next thing?
The next criteria.
There
okay.
You go. That's the actual word. Criteria.
So I think, and we actually, talked about this maybe it was earlier in this show, but I feel like it was the last episode. So things that are alive adapt. They adapt to the environment. They respond to the environment. And so if you find yourself not reacting to what's happening around you, not reacting to your colleagues, not reacting to your students, not adapting, not changing, that's a warning sign that you're not learning and growing, and you're headed towards burnout. Which actually this proves your point. It was earlier in this podcast. You're saying you can't be happy and do the same thing over and over and over and not learn and grow. That's part of happiness. So I disproved my own point earlier.
I like ding.
Ding. So yeah, the idea is living things, part of being alive and being vital and having vitality is you react to the environment. And so that should be something that's part of your professional work life is you don't insulate yourself, you don't isolate yourself.
Sure.
There's community, there's connections, there's a give and take. Being a teacher is an organic state. You should react and roll with the changes to your environment.
No, so if you don't react, so here's an example. So what if, and here's a survey, an NEA survey of classroom teachers, that 72% replied they felt moderate or extreme pressure to increase test scores from both school and district administrators. So that's one of the burnouts is they want to quit because testing and data collection seem to be at the forefront. So, but to your point, why can't you get with, I think that's 72%. So now you're left with what, 38% of people.
28, Pablo.
28% of people. I just wanted to see if you would.
No, I was paying attention.
Yeah, you got me. 28% of the population at your school, that's who you have to go find and figure out what their mojo is to get through and then to get on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And that's hard though, but that's hard to find.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because feeling pressure around testing, I would argue the point about being adaptable or responding to your environment, if you literally have no reaction to the testing pressure, I mean, maybe that's not healthy. Like you should adapt and you should either, like you might fight it and go, that's not what's best for kids. What's best for kids is this. I'm responding. I don't think you should just kind of go, okay, whatever they tell us to do.
Right.
You know, that's somebody who's headed towards burnout because there's no connection or reaction to what's happening in the work environment.
I think a perfect example is this, especially about the last 5-6 years of my classroom experience. And by the way, I was a math teacher, so I really feel bad about the whole 28 and 38 thing.
You're fine. It's just a mechanic. It's just a fluke.
SMH here. Okay, but the idea was that testing was at the forefront, and I understood that, and many teachers would say, yeah, you have to, use the multiple choice test. You got to use the bubble test. So they get used to the testing. I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. I was very reflective. I can do something about this. I can get and we spoke about this a little bit in the last episode or podcast episode about just if I can just get my kids ready and be critical thinkers, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Right? You can teach them the basics, the skills, but it's the application that really matters. And that's what I'm going to focus on as much as I can. And so that being said, that was my way of saying, no, that's not right. I'm still going to do what's good for the kid. I still want them to pass the test and do well, but it wasn't to get them a bigger number. I just want them to be better human beings overall, but be critical thinkers and be evaluative of themselves and their environment around them.
Well said.
Thanks. Still thinking about the 28, man. All right, I'm over it. I'm gonna get over that. What's the next thing on your? I don't even have the language.
Yeah, so another, and this is related to the last point, but another thing that people who are alive do.
Alive is good.
Or like in biology or botany, a sign of vital signs is growth and change. So this is straight from like a biology textbook, becoming different than what you are in the past. The only things that don't do that are dead things like a rock. A rock can get weathered and eroded, but a rock is never going to then become, a better rock. It's just going to be the same rock. But a blade of grass, it grows, it gives shade, it gives environment where other animals or insects can, hunt or forage. Okay. So as teachers, we should grow and change. And that's actually a sign that you're combating burnout.
I like that.
Tell me more.
I like that. No, I totally like that's what we were talking about. Teachers need that growth so they feel something inside.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know. Just here's a hack, just trying to get my day started, right? And we've talked about this a lot in terms of getting our day started, conquering the day, winning the day. And this morning, for one of the first times in a long time, I said, I'm going to do that whole Tim Ferriss or whoever, Chase Jarvis or whatever, is I'm going to get in that cold shower, at least for the first 30 seconds. Yeah, I got to the hot real quick, but got in there for about 30 seconds. I'm like shivering. It's to get your day going. It really did like get my heart rate going. Yeah. And that's changed. But
I'm so proud of you, Pablo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. You should at least try it once. It took me back to my days at Yosemite as a 7th grader because all they had was cold water.
Cold water.
Take a shower. Yep. But changing would be putting kids' best interest at heart. And that's why some teachers tend to burn out because they feel like their school district isn't putting the kids' best interest at heart. That blade of grass, they are that blade of grass, so to speak. They're going to grow. What can you do as a district to help them grow and not focus again on test scores or the things that they really don't matter when we're trying to, raise a human being. Yeah. In and out of the classroom.
How tough that is, just one human being. And then a class full, everyone has different needs, different interests, different aptitudes, different challenges. So a school, a district, a classroom is always going to have to be adapting and changing and growing because the students in front of the teacher or spending time in that learning environment are different. And you're not going to have the solution dialed in from year to year or even month to month. So if you are going to look out for the student's best interest, you're going to have to do something new and different on the regular. You're going to have to be searching. No one has it dialed in and solved.
And again, and just to bring us back to our objective is to bring light on how to protect yourself from burnout. Not just say, it's there, it's going to happen, quit today. No, so on the contrary.
One of the things we say is, the power of yes, saying yes to opportunities. So growth and change.
Or like you said, when to say no, that's part of the maturation process. Like, it might not behoove you to do that extra thing either. So it correlates, but I know it's the antithesis of what you were saying.
I was just speaking to saying yes to something that can promote growth or change. But there is the other side. Thank you for bringing that up. Just one other thing I'll share is all living things have something called homeostasis or balance. So like you can think of blood pressure, things like what's another example of balance? I mean, like water.
Well, I was going to say water.
Yeah, being hydrated, you need enough of vitamins, you need enough food, but there's a balance. Everything in the life cycle, there's give and take, there's input, there's output. You can't always give as a teacher. That's a sign that you're on the road to burnout. And so you have to think like, how do you protect yourself from burnout? Is teachers give a lot. So how do you give to yourself, or how do you make sure you're nurtured and fed? And we've talked about self-care here and there along the podcast. I was going to say journey, the podcast journey.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
It's been a good one. Yeah. It's been a good one. We're back.
Ooh, do you have a story to share?
So I have a little story, and cool. I was actually trying to find a story of this one gentleman. He taught for 5 years. It was early on in blog posts when they were popular, I think in the late 90s or early 2000s. But it struck a chord in me because I read his blog, and he was writing why this will be my last year teaching. And essentially because all the things we already mentioned. He was burnt out. He didn't feel like the education system was a supportive one, and he felt like within his classroom, he couldn't do the things that he really wanted to do for kids. He just felt stuck. Yeah. And it's too bad, but he felt like his only option was to quit and go off into a different career. I'm not sure what he went off to, and I hope he's happy, but I found another article while searching for that. And I think it's on the website Teaching on Less by Casey Morris, her name is. And so she did quit. quit teaching, traditional teaching.
Okay.
But what she ended up finding out that teaching was something that she really cared about. So in essence, she came.
So you can quit and still be a teacher.
Look at that. You can be an educator, right?
Yeah.
And
tell me.
she said she quit for many reasons. I'll list some of them. She got to teach students. What she went on to do is she got to teach students. So she went to work for a company, I believe, and I think I was trying to get the name. But nonetheless, she went to work for a company that actually supported, a lot of the things that she was interested in. So it made more sense to go in that environment of education.
Like an ed tech startup, that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
But there was a variety of things that I think the title is 15 things that happened when I quit teaching. But really, she just went right back into education.
Yeah,
but
interesting.
she got to teach students from all over the world because I'm sure that essentially it was based on the internet. And she became a better person. She started living to teach instead of teaching to live, kind of thing. What else is in here? But she began impacting teachers all over the world. So she was working. That really fulfilled her.
That's what I mean about that reproduction. You're creating other teachers. You're impacting others, developing them professionally or influencing them.
But I think she could have found that within teaching. She just didn't know how. Right?
Yeah, maybe.
But what I like with her number 5, she has 15.
You're citing her article and then arguing with her.
Yeah. Well, I am citing her article, but because I'm glad for her.
Yeah.
I'm glad that she's able to find.
That's a great story.
She began to live the life that she loved.
That's cool.
That's what I want to do. That makes a lot of sense. And sometimes I do it almost every day where I think in the back of my head of the things that I want to do as well. But a lot of them have to do with education. So I'm trying to figure out that homeostasis, that balance.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be education all the time. Like she's a better wife. She's a better mother now, she's saying. And that's what you need to find for yourself. So when we're talking about protecting yourself from burnout, it might be making a decision to move into a different area of education as well.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't just stick it out for the sake of sticking it out.
And we've talked about career pathways. Did we do that episode?
We have not.
Okay.
That's coming up.
Just the idea about, yes, there's a classroom teacher, but yes, there's a counselor. Yes, there is a speech pathologist. Yes, there is the instructional coach. Yes, there is the assistant principal. The list, that's 5 in just a few seconds. The list goes on and on and on. About the type of people who make schools run and make learning environments that are amazing. Like we're lucky to have a maintenance director who's really happy. He came from the private industries, never worked in schools. Yeah. He has such pride in the way that he has made our learning environments shine just by the extra attention and care. And he knows that he's making a difference for kids. It's great. And so that's just an example of like how you can be a better person by looking for the exact fit, I guess, for you in education or outside.
That fit's so important, especially as a new teacher, and as you're going through this journey, you really need to pay attention to or address things that might be bothering you. Because these are real things. Whether you're doing teaching or whether you're in another profession, doesn't matter. Like depression is real. Like it's not just a bad day at work. If you have continuous bad days, you should do something about that. You should talk to somebody. Talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
Appetite, weight loss, fatigues, sleeping disorders, those types of things. Those are things that are real and can perpetuate themselves in a system that if it's non-supportive, it's going to be worse for you. So you need to identify those things and make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And I just want to plug we talk about winning the day. One of the morning habits that I recommend is morning pages or just some sort of daily journaling, because it's hard over the course of a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years to keep track of like, is this how I've always felt? So like depression and those things, fatigue, and that can kind of creep in slowly. And then you just feel like I'm just so busy teaching. But that's maybe not normal, you know? And so a journal can be a way where you reflect and you can look back a year and go, wow, a year ago I was happy. I'm totally in a different space. And why is that? And let's address it. So that's something I recommend is some sort of regular journaling.
Absolutely. Those affirmations are huge. They're key.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good. You want to give them a little advice?
Do I? I didn't have any final words.
I think you do. I think you do. I think you do.
So, I mean, I think the idea is above all, you should be happy. And so tuning into your emotional state and thinking about that, like a lot of times we think we're giving and we're serving and we're taught to say, even though maybe inside we struggle with it, we're taught to say, I put the kids first. Sure. At some point, proper self-care is a prerequisite to putting the kids first.
Absolutely.
Because if you're giving them a damaged, broken, tired, crabby teacher, you're actually doing less for them than you could be. So proper self-care is super important. We highly recommend it. You know what? And reach out to us and contact us if you want to talk through some of these issues. Yeah,
we'd love, again, to hear from you on any of the social medias. We love to talk to you. Remember to go get us that 5-star. And here's
rating and a review. Yeah.
Yeah, which I was going to say, here's a call to action, but we certainly would love to hear from you outside of iTunes, because I think we can have that internal discussion, whether it be on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah.
I think everybody can benefit from it and share.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. We're done.
Peace.
Connect with us on social media at Pablo and Wes.
On Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and all the podcast places on the web like
iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Overcast.
And remember to get your free special gift at
pabloandwes.com/gift.
Yay!